Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an exciting day here in Davos with avalanche and the snow. But I see everybody in the room with high spirit because we are going to tell stories and we are going to share stories. The session is called Next Generation of Storytellers. Before I introduce the two wonderful artists, may I just briefly say a few things. This is something called Beta Zone. It's a room different from all the other rooms at the World Economic Forum for the year 2018. So cool. It's a cool setting with cool people and two cool artists with a cool backdrop, cool stories coming up. My name is Tian Wei. I'm going to be honorably hosting and moderating this short but wonderful session. I'm a host of CGTN, China Global Television Network. I know many of my audience is also watching this online right now. But for now, I want to introduce to you the two wonderful artists. You know, the way about introducing artists is it has to be concise and precise as short as possible because they are the masterpieces. So, may I introduce, first of all, the artist coming from China, Miss Chen Man, contemporary Chinese photographer, visual artist, who created a unique visual language that revolutionized the fashion photography in China. Before you stand, let me say one word. She's been named as China's Leibowitz. Okay, there we go, Chen Man. Say hi, 你好, 大家好. Thank you, my dear, for being here. And next, let me introduce from another continent, from Africa, Wanuri Kahiu. I learned a lot about your name, how to pronounce it from the organizer. I hope I did it right. And she is creating wonderful feature films coming from Africa, the top of the new generation, I was being told. I'm all ears to your presentation later. So want to meet everybody? Give her a round of applause. Thank you. So two exciting young ladies with us, helping us to understand their parts of the world and their part of the story. So let's get the story started. Let's have Wanuri with us on the stage first. Please.
So there is a hip-hop artist called Chen Man. He is a Somali-Canadian poet, hip-hop artist, rapper. But he remixed an African proverb in which he said, "Until the lions learn to speak, the tales of hunting will be meek." So I recently traveled to foreign, and I was asked to present my film, Pumzi, a short science fiction film. And when I got to the customs desk, I'm always asked for my paperwork, I'm always the random check, and I'm always ready. I have my return ticket, my hotel accommodation, my invite letter, everything I need to prove that I do not intend to stay. So the customs officer asked me why I was there, and I explained. She asked me what my film was about, and I said it's a futuristic science fiction film about Africa. And then she asked, why is it so important? Why is it important enough for you to travel and discuss? To her, science fiction is obviously not important. And I couldn't blame her for an awkward question. She wasn't used to lions speaking. To have the hunter tell it, Africa is full of meek stories about desperation and despair. So when artists like myself offer an alternate vision, often we're asked to defend our imagination. Why do we feel we have the luxury to create? Shouldn't we be dealing with more important issues like corruption or war or AIDS or poverty? And I think this is largely because most people like to think of Africa only as the sum of its problems. And the problem with this is that it's created a single story that has created only one perspective of Africa, which we have allowed to tell about ourselves. We've allowed these stories to be told about ourselves as if they're the only perspective on Africa. So the problem with that is that if the only stories about us are desperate and hopeless and lost, then how can we for ourselves imagine anything better than that? So, as a result, we created Afro Bubblegum. And Afro Bubblegum is an online platform that celebrates Afro Bubblegum work, which is fun, fierce, and frivolous African art. It has no agenda. It has no policy. It's not trying to save everyone or anyone. It's not trying to do anything. It's not trying to, it's really just the celebration of art for art's sake. But not everybody can create Afro Bubblegum art. It has to answer a couple of questions. So for the Afro Bubblegum test that we created, we have a series of 3 questions. And in order to pass the test, you have to answer no to the following 3 questions. The first question: are there any Africans who are sick or dying in this piece? Are there any Africans in need of saving? Are there any who are desperate, hopeless, or lost? And if you can answer no to all 3 of these questions, then surely you're an Afro Bubblegum artist. And what was great to discover is that there's been a history of Afro Bubblegum art through Africa. In the 60s and 70s, we had these amazing lookbooks or photo magazines or photo comics. And we had Son of Samson, we had Cobra, the Serpentine Shiro, and we had The Spear. The Spear had a charming way with girls and a deadly way with thugs. And they were truly a Pan-African collaboration. They were written in South Africa. They were shot in Swaziland. They were written in Nigeria. They were shot in Swaziland. They were edited in South Africa. And they were printed in Kenya and Ghana and distributed across Anglophone Africa. And hundreds of thousands of copies of each issue would go out across the continent. And this is in colonial Africa and in apartheid Africa. And we had a chance to see ourselves as heroes, which is great, because if we can see ourselves as heroes, then maybe we can imagine for ourselves a radical hope for a better future. So, more presently, in Kenya, we have the work of Osborne Macharia. And Osborne created in his series the League of Extravagant Grannies. And these are retired women who were industry and government leaders. And just looking at their work, you can see how they challenge power dynamics and gender roles in Africa. Then what he went on to do is that he found very ordinary, everyday women and made them high fashion models. Terrific. And these women, as a result of being in his work, they felt so privileged and they felt seen and acknowledged through joy. They were celebrated because of everything that they can be and everything they had not imagined that they could be. So he started to create joy cultures through his work. But he's not the only person who's creating joy cultures. In Abidjan, we have Letitia Kay. And she uses her hair to create art. And her art is a version of her Africa, which is whimsical and light and fun and frivolous. And I often imagine, if these are the kind of images that we used to communicate NGO messaging or foreign policy communication, what would we think about Africa then? Would we think that we are worthy of the pursuit of happiness? Then going to Nigeria, we have Dennis Osadebe. And he creates what he calls neo-African art. And he creates a series of Afronauts. This is the Nigeria that he knows, and this is the Nigeria we should be engaging with. It's the Nigeria full of honor. It's the Nigeria full of fun. It's the Nigeria full of wisdom and light and love. These images are the reason that we want to engage with Africa. These are the reasons that we want to get to know each other, because we can see a sense of joy about ourselves, and that comes together. I think that given that joy is an inhibitor of fear, then we will find more commonality in joy than we will in suffering. And we'll also imagine unimaginable worlds like the worlds of Nnedi Okorafor, where she creates women who have the ability to fly or leave Earth to go to a university in space or try and master their sorcery. The great, amazing images of Africa. And though she has many themes in her work, the work is not about the themes. She creates because she wants to watch girls fly. She wants to watch girls having fun. And I do the same thing in my own creation. I'm a filmmaker. And I try and create because of the people who inspire me, the people who give me love and who encourage me, and the people who make me want to defend their image, because I want to honor them. And I know the power of images, so I create beautiful images of people for that sake. I do not want them to be misrepresented. And I know the power of creating a new stereotype.
Dream detected. Take your dreams as present. Dream detected. Take your dreams as present.
I found the perfect soil sample and planted the mighty seed. It's growing.
Soil sample.
The one you sent. The box with no delivery note.
I didn't send anything. Reported to security and move on.
This could mean there's life on the outside.
You are not qualified to determine that. Forward your work to the science lab.
I'd like to apply for an exit visa to go outside. If I could find the original soil, I could...
The outside is dead.
But the soil is alive.
Take your dreams to pieces.
But I know it's alive. It has to.
You were compromised by your illness. You should have taken your medication.
I have been taking them.
I can't help you, Eddie.
What about the plan?
We are Afro-bubblegum artists. We create for the joy of creating. We create not in reaction to the West, but because we are artists. We imagine. We imagine our future, we imagine our past, and sometimes we mix them both together. And we are Afro-bubblegum artists because we believe in a fun, fierce, and frivolous Africa. And in time, the next person who asks me why is my film so important, maybe I'll say it actually really isn't that important, not in the way that you think. It's important because it shows a different view, a much needed view of a global Africa. And the next time we hear this tale about the lions learning to speak, we will fight back by saying, the lions are speaking. And they're speaking to each other. And maybe now it's time for the hunter to learn their joy-filled language. Thank you so much.
I wonder if I could join you with short hairstyle? Yeah. Thank you very much. We're going to come with more questions for you later. Now let's invite Chen Man onto the stage. She has a whole pile of photos, all taken by her. Very artistic ones, I was told, to present to you together with her story and her generations of young Chinese stories. Chen Man.
Hi, everybody. I love this room. Since yesterday I came here, look at the outside of our room. Those amazing snow. I think most of the time we experience our world from outside. But I got the information from one of my masters. because I think idea is actually the outside world is reflection from actually inside of our world. So I would like everybody here to join me for a simple game first. I've always been in search an international languages that needs no translation. Everyone is born with the natural ability to see, listen, touch, and breathe. Now, please take 3 deep breaths with me. Okay, here we go. Who am I? A woman from China, the home of the Great Wall. A country, a nation once adapt curie conditions with curie folky remedies. With folky herbal remedies. Sorry, this is not my first language. Yeah, this is that page. I grew up in Hutong place when I was little. People still rode bicycles. Ate non-GMO watermelons. We are the red offspring. Our parents, they were full of hope. They revolted. They told the legend of Puyi. They entrust their dreams on us. While we were still in the hazy pink of youth, you came again. We welcomed you. Sometimes we get along really well. And soon we started unwittingly to love the game you invented. We love to drive your cars. We love to drink your coffee. We love to carry your bags. Well, who doesn't like diamonds? We're eager to create something as shining as diamonds. Money is good. It seems the pursuit of life, even a new religion. We are busy trying to achieve the dreams we thought you had, to become heroes. We work like crazy and hurry on our journey with a materialistic dream. Perhaps we can become stars once again. I call my generation the generation that witnessed material dreams be turned into reality. So we are revolutionaries as well. We are really happy. We are eager to achieve the best cost performance in OEM. We were busy to building our new Great Wall. We were busy to trying to look at least okay. Then you finally had the time to sit and listen to the news. At first, you wanted to get to know us, but in the end, you know yourself. You got to know yourselves. East, West, in Chinese, contains the notion of the space. And the notion of the time. The sun rises from the east, sets on west. It is loop and a cycle. Respectively, there are also south and north. North is frigid zone. South represents the tropical zone. at the same time it represents water and fire, also a reflection of the yin and yang. Adam and Eve. Perhaps we went traveling together. And then we started to discuss the business, study and impersonate, communicate and interact, reflect. Finally, after a long time mutual observation from the outside world, we discovered that it seems like the material world cannot provide all the answers. Out of the depths, the misfortune comes to bliss. Its dream to bring the opposite result. The way that can be spoken is not constant way. The name that can be named is not constant name. We happened to coincide, one after another, came to a same conclusion. An energy translation between the material and the intellectual world, quantum physics and Buddhism, proving and supporting each other in different dimensions. All reality is phantom. All phantoms are real. Feeling is most scientific science. We exist symphonically, not as a robotic chorus. All essence is generated from the natural definition of elements. Our unit is extremely perfect and special. So, with our ancestors' blessing, understanding is more important than love. Gold creates water, water creates wood, wood creates fire, fire creates earth, earth creates gold. Those serious philosophies to bring into science and use it in the production. Gold is money, money is love, but it's money energy. Let's get back to the roots of love. Of course, they're gonna have many followers soon. One turned into two, two turned into three, and three turned into million. However, the primitive male and female seeds attract one another. Hence, the natural flow of love was created. This is our world's original life force. Love. You can see it everywhere, even very objectively. This is, oh, sorry, I need to go back. This is good energy. This is bad energy. This is good energy in bad. This is bad energy good. This is life. How we go about it. Balance. This is Eastern ideology from the Taoism. If you have an idea, you will realize it with materials. They will be multiplied. Of course, we are more than one in the world. In some instance, it is our intellectual world that generated our material world. The mutual exist, flow does live. We are all subjects as well as actors. Let's experience together. How can we develop a platform for understanding those who come from different worlds? Visual language is one of the languages that needs no translation. As an artist, I use visual media as a language to try and inspire a mutual understanding between the West and the Eastern world, creating a synchronization and unity in which we can grow together with our life carrier, our living planet, Mother Earth. Thank you.
Very beautiful presentation. Thank you so much, Chen Man.
Thank you.
Impressive. What a philosopher, I would say. Let me invite the two ladies to come up to the stage because we've already got some questions coming from the audience. If our organizer would help me to figure out where to find those questions. And may I invite the two of you to come up to the stage for some interactions with our audience? You know, with artists, one of the things is we go with the flow. So we did not have any rehearsal, we did not have this Q&A all designed up, but rather real conversation. So first of all, maybe if you allow me, can I ask them, how do they see each other's stories? Yeah, would that be a good idea? Okay, this is a democracy in the room. Okay, what do you think, Chen Man, of her stories?
I want to talk about her story
Yes,
first.
what do you think of it?
I think this is really amazing because I was talk with her, you know, under the stage. We talk about Elon Musk because I think Elon Musk was, you know, kind of inspired by the Africa because he was born there, and she said he's an alien. And I think I never go to the Africa before, but it is already on my schedule because I think this is what she talk. I think especially the images there is amazing. It's just show me another side of which I don't know about Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The very different aesthetics compared to the Oriental culture, I would say.
Yeah.
What about Chen Man's work?
I love Chen Man's work. I love it, love it, love it. I've been looking at her images for a while now, so I'm secretly a fan. So I'm actually geeking out right now to be on stage with her. She's been an inspiration. Her work has been a reference point to some of the work that I've done. And I love the way she combines imagery and just such a strong, positive view, especially of the women of our generation. We were born in the same year. So it's just extraordinary to see how two different people from different parts of the world communicate their story and their love. And there's such love and abundance in her work that I'm always thrilled to see it.
So now I can officially announce you are the agent for each other. Having said that, though, I think one of the most important thing is, what about your generation of storytellers? You talk about your previous generation. What is the difference to you? There is a question related to that. Use 3 different adjectives to describe it. Well, if you want to go with 4 or 2, I wouldn't mind.
For me, it's easy. Mine is fun, fierce, and frivolous. We create, to create, so that we can create.
All right. What about Chen Man? What do you think?
Yeah, because I'm from the single child generation, after cultural revolutions. And our government now released a new permission that you could have the second one.
Yeah.
Every family. So right now we are only generation that only child generation. So we think in the beginning we are kind of like, little princess or the little prince in house, and when we grow up, we found we have so much responsibility on our shoulders. I think we grow up so fast. But on my side, I think I am a visual language artist. I think my responsibility is to let the world see the positive side of our world. So, yeah.
Why is that important, to see the positive side? I see in both of your works, there is a determination to do it. Why?
Because I think what I'm talking is all about the trick is, it's not separate bad or good. It's all about, the trick is just one word, it's balance. So I didn't mean is that negative is not good. Negative is just kind of energy. So we need to balance it. If something we needed is more or less in the world, or our energy, I think I should do something, to fix balance, to be that role. Yeah.
You create stories so that your generation could be connected to the rest of the country, because your generation is very unique in China, the only child generation.
Yeah.
But what about for you? There's a question I think is relevant. You create wonderful works, science fiction, from the outer space. A lot of dreams and a lot of connectivity seems. But what about for people, many of those in Africa, some say, they do not have internet connection. They are suffering from poverty, exactly the stereotype you're talking about. But they believe that's also part of the reality. So you create all of these works, but they are not relevant to most of the Africans, many wonder.
How can your stories and the stories of others reach the people in Africa who are disconnected from infrastructure? Okay. Africa is built on stories. I am just the next generation of storyteller. I didn't invent storytelling. In fact, we are a culture of storytellers. The way that we communicate morality, our creation stories about how we came to be, all of them actually are steeped in science fiction and fantasy. So whether or not you're able to access my direct film is irrelevant. You have a plethora of stories that are available to you at your fingertips if you choose to look for them, because we are interconnected through the abundance of stories that we have.
I see. So what about another question? It seems that both of you are kind of quote-unquote rebellious toward the stereotypes that people create about your parts of the world. But don't you think, while you are trying to do your work, you're also creating new stereotypes about what is really representing your generation or your parts of the world? That question? 就是你们在和大家的这种错误的印象做斗争的时候，我们做了新的作品，但是这些作品可能也会给更多的人产生一种错误的印象，好像你所讲的故事就是真正的你的世界和你的一生。So what do you think about that?
I'm not, challenge anyone, to give the, different opinion, I think. Yes, I think in my mind, all the reality is actually the reflection of the inside of your world, in your body actually. So I think that's all the message, information from the outside world. It just remind you to upgrade. Yeah.
There's some comments called loving the grandmas in both of your works. Yeah. Okay, that's a great comment. But what about for you? You know, so-called new stereotypes, old stereotypes, but they are both stereotypes.
Gosh, give me a good stereotype of an African any day. I would love it. If the world was populated with more positive images, more glorious images of abundant Africans, and that was the stereotype, I'd actually be very happy in that world.
Good point. Very determined when she said that. Having said that, though, another question. There is, you presenting African narrative. You are presenting a Western image from an African perspective. My question is within the context of Umzi?
No, I'm not presenting a Western narrative. I'm presenting a Kenyan narrative using Western technology. I'm using my own experience as a Kenyan, as an African, and I'm telling that story. Science fiction, like I said, has always been in Africa. It's always been a part of Africa. From South Africa, where they had Credo Mutua, who believed that we're descendants of a reptilian race, that's science fiction, to West Africa, where the Malis believe that we're descendants of, or the Dogon believe that we're descendants of aliens from a planet called Ceres B. That's science fiction. We have a history of science fiction. So me telling a science fiction story is completely within the context of my continent. I'm only using the technical skill and language and availability of that to be able to tell my story. But my story in itself is deeply steeped in Africanness.
One of the things I've been always thinking about as a Chinese, and I guess as someone coming from a culture that boasts hundreds and thousands of years, for Africa too, many, many history behind, is how much do I know about my culture, about my history, that I could be proudly standing here and say, see, that's my culture. I'm very timid in making that statement. I don't know about you, Chen Man. 中文。
就是我们
的文化和历史似乎很长，那有很多方面，但是我们能不能自己站在这儿自信地告诉大家说，这就是我们的文化，这就是我们的历史，我们知道的足够吗
？I think is our time. I think everyone here, the most precious thing is not about money. It's about time. So our time is limited. So whatever we experience and get information is want to us to learn. So what are you guys understanding from our lectures? I think each of you guys maybe are different. So whether you say yes or no in your heart, I think it is just a flow of the energy you experience. I think if you experience, that will be great. Yeah. If you copy your life like a loop, I think that is unhealthy. So I think different information, whether it's not good or whether it's not bad, I think it is all the best. Yeah.
One of the things I could use comparison with African culture is Chinese culture, for example. I'm sure in many other parts of the world as well. You have so many different branches of culture, and they sometimes conflict against one another. Philosophy, for example, you have Taoism, Confucianism, all of this. They advocate very different kinds of culture and lifestyles. So, which is part of our culture, and where shall we begin when we talk about our own culture and our own storytelling?
I think that the only way to begin is by talking about ourselves and our experiences. And like Chen Man said, is by looking inside and using what is inside you to be able to fuel what you create outside of you. So culture obviously is defined by different people as different things. If the government of Kenya were to define culture, it would be women in grass skirts and coconuts, and that would be their version of culture. But for us, the younger generation. Culture is connected with the rest of the world. It's hip hop, it's dance, it's poetry, it's fine art, it's sculpture, it's fashion, it's what you wear, it's how you wear it.
That's right.
Everything is so combined, and I don't feel like now, because we're so much a part of a global community, there's less separations between people and more commonality in the experiences and in the things that they love.
Have your grandma saw those grandma photos?
I wish she did. My grandmother passed, but I wish she did.
So sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. But what about you, Chen Man? Have your father, mother, and the older generation seen your photos? What do they say?
Yeah, they saw it, and my mother always, you know, sell the good words, you know, of my works to the other people, but the people, they always said, in the beginning especially, I use a really heavy post-production, and they think this is not good. And I'm not, you know, defined by officially photographer or artist. I'm between them. So I think I should inspiring, you know, those. I got inspiring actually from a word from a Batman. You know, he said, what is defining you is not what your name is what you did. Yeah.
As simple as that.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's the next story you want to tell? Briefly, we got only 40 seconds left.
I'm currently adapting a short story that I wrote about an AI machine and its relationship with a young woman.
Okay.
And I'm really trying to develop the idea of what AI in the African continent would look like and be, and how it would relate to the people.
Sounds fascinating. Let me know about the result. And what about you?
Yeah, I love this. You know, I think the future should be, you know, combine the science and arts. You know,
yes.
If we can get that mixed baby, that would be great. And what I did is I transformed my function. You know, even with the visual language or the post-production, you know, transformed to an app. So our app is already online. It's called VNI. So I try to inspire the world to make the professional visual language, make it more easier to share to everybody, to inspire our world. Yeah.
So this is our next generation of storytellers. Shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Wanuri and Man, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful story. Thank you. And thank you, everybody.